And there we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final April Friday Live. We're back to noon. It's all about experimentation this month, and this is going to be a very chill live because it's been a very busy couple weeks. Seems like April is a very busy book month, and I've been doing I don't know. It feels like a lot of events. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, but a lot of exciting stuff this week and last week. I just wanted to recap and highlight this new idea. Basically, that's the purpose of this video, the new idea. So first of all, we've passed Independent Bookstore Day. It was last Saturday. How'd y'all do? Where'd you go? Who'd you choose? Who did you support? Tell me all the great stories. I went with the bookstore that I used to work at and ordered a few, and hopefully ordered one from the publisher that is going to be a buddy read with Sandy Golston. So that's an exciting perspective. And yeah, just tweeted up a storm trying to, what's that called? When you make someone's voice sound louder. Not broadcast. Not elevate. Somewhere in there. I'll remember. There was just an event earlier today that was called, well, it's a Friday Frontliner event, but it was with author Lisa Genova, and her book is called Remember, and it was all about her neuroscience background and how we remember things. And that was really cool. So I did that earlier today. But here we go. Tell me about your Independent Bookstore Day. So if someone stumbles in, feel free to comment, even if it's not in live chat. How was your independent bookstore celebration? So mine was good, but a very busy day. What else? What did I say? Extra help. Oh, I know why. Independent Bookstore Day is the annual one day where we celebrate indie bookstores because they're such bastions in our communities, and they do so many things for us that are in the commons, you might say, and not paid for directly. So if you've ever walked into a bookstore and browsed and sat down and leafed through a book and thought, this is so nice just to relax in here for an hour in the air conditioning with the smells of the cookies and the coffee and looking at possible books I might buy without having to buy a book. That is a common element that bookstores provide. So if you don't want to see those go away, support your bookstore. But because of the pandemic, we've lost a lot of great independent bookstores that couldn't handle paying their rent with, no foot traffic. So as a former bookseller and a now marketer and someone who wants to help communities stay strong, I was putting on my thinking cap and thinking how my little cog in this system could help things. And since April is all about experimentation, I thought I would try a book swap. This is not original. This is just original to me. So people have done it over on Litsy. People have done it through Instagram, through Bookstagram. And so here's the idea. I started this on Twitter and I said, tell me your favorite local bookstore. We'll put them in a list on Twitter, which I've started. And they should have a social media handle. I know the rare bookstore that does not. I know one in Eastern Oregon, or not Eastern Oregon, but the Dalles that does not. And I know one on MLK Avenue that does not. So, there's two right away that are sort of disqualifying themselves from the list, but you can still use them. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So the Twitter list is where we're holding space for social media handles for local bookstores that people can access and support or retweet, amplify. That's the word I was looking for. Amplify the voices of independent bookstores. It only took 5 minutes. And so you can both respond to that tweet and just sort of put your favorite bookstore's handle in the mix. That's one level. That's helpful. You can also sign up on that spreadsheet, and I'll put the link in here. Oh, nope. It wants to take me to the spot. I don't want to. I just want to copy the link. All right. Should work. And I always do that typo, spreadsheet. Sorry, typos. So this is the next level where you can participate in a book swap. And I haven't thought of a fantastic title for this. I mean, I came up with a few. So Independent Bookstore Day is IBD. And then Independent Bookstore Swap would be IBS, which also is irritable bowel syndrome. So that's not that great. Then I thought, what about Independent Bookstore BookTube Swap, which is like IBITS? I don't know if I could add an R onto that and make it ribbits and have a frog as an icon. BookTube BookSwap, BTBS, that kind of recalls BTS and like the K-pop trend. I don't know. I'm struggling with some of the titles and like catchy acronyms for this. So help out on that if you want to. But yeah, BookTube BookSwap to help indie bookstores. And basically the rules are you put your own information in there. So like where you live and which bookstore, the bookstore's information, their social media handle, and there's a column for that. And you put your spending limit. So what you're comfortable with spending based on like how many books and the postage. So, you know, depending on where you are, that might vary. And, oh, hello. Nice to see somebody. So yeah, your information, the bookstore's information, and how much you're willing to spend to like support a local bookstore. And then what someone else will do when they come on. For example, I put my cat and a fictitious dog on there as examples, but as a real example, I put Beth Ann said she wanted to join and she's willing to swap multiple times, which is awesome. But so she highlighted Birch Bark Books as one, and I said yes, go to that one. And so next to my line, I put $40. I'm like, that's what I'm gonna like my blowout spend for independent bookstore book swap. And then she can put something on my line that says like what she's comfortable spending. And then we don't feel like it's gonna be our expectations don't match and we're sad at the end, right? So that's basically what I'm trying to do is just not make people feel awkward about it. So pick someone, you work out how much you want to spend or how comfortable you are, and also get information about what books they want to read. So I'm going to be highlighting, yay, Beth Ann's here. I'm going to be highlighting backstory books. Excuse me. The allergies are happening, so I'm sniffling and whatnot. But Backstory is a used bookstore that has recently gone into buying new books more because they had to, because no one could come in like usual. But I think this makes it even more fun to do like a used bookstore hunt, because then you're constricted or restricted and you have less to choose from. So it's more of a hunt, which makes it more of like exciting. So talk to the person you're swapping with and say, what are you on the lookout for? Where is your wish list so I can browse? And if you know, for example, I know Beth Ann's recent reads anyway, because I've been following her for a few months. You have an idea what they might like. And I don't know, you can probably feel out what you want to look for and then browse in the bookstore, browse on the online bookstore, whichever method you're comfortable with. And then the idea is you do all this in May and you post it, you ship it by the end of May, May 31st. So then in June, we'll have new books for summer to peruse as book mail. And so it's going to be like a fun June present for the summer. So that's my new idea. That's my new experiment that I want to try to put in place. And it is April 30th. So we got to get going if we want to have this happen. I sort of started it earlier in April, and then there was the birthday. Excuse me, birthday stuff, bookstore day stuff, all this sort of things that were happening. And I didn't want to steal thunder from anything else. And so we're swishing it in at the end of April. I will definitely put it out there on the internet some more this weekend and see if we can get anyone else to sign up. Like I said, there's the first level of just responding to the Twitter replying to the tweet and putting in the name of your indie bookstore where you are. That's great. And then if you want to participate in the book swap and mail someone a couple books that you can find at your local bookstore that will bring a smile on someone's face when they get there in June, that is the other level that I want to facilitate for people. So feel free to put your name on for that. So that's the big idea. That's just to be extra help to the indie bookstores in some small way. So hopefully it'll catch on. I don't know. Yeah. The only other topic I had besides Independent Bookstore Day, BookTube BookSwap, is experimenting. And like I said, I wrote a little list of the stuff that I've done because I need to remind myself that part of my energy is expended in trying something new because that is not a comfortable feeling for me. So it's an accomplishment and I need to celebrate it when there isn't much else going on, right? So today's Friday. On Wednesday, I tried out the YouTube Live platform, which I saw Jim Holroyd do, and he just like sprang up, and I was like, oh, and I watched and thought I could do this, right? But I'd put it off for a long time, and so finally Wednesday, when I was not feeling like arguing with myself over whether I would record a different AuthorTube video, I decided to do that instead, and people wrote lovely comments about hooray for going for it, which was great and very supportive, and so thank you. But that was an experiment. YouTube Live on Wednesday. On Tuesday, I jumped in as a co-host, a guest interviewer with Sarah DeVello on a Mighty Places channel for Mighty Mysteries. We were interviewing Michael Sims, who edited the recent Penguin Classic collection of Arsène Lupin, who is like the Sherlock Holmes of France. And I didn't know him. I didn't know about this name, this history. And I was like, I was going to be doing some of her social media posts or helping with that, amplify them. The night before, I was looking up his accounts and whatnot, and I saw on the Penguin page that he had edited the Penguin Victorian Women in Crime, and I went, wait a minute, I just read that! And so like 3 weeks before, I had read this book that was edited by him, and I thought, that's so cool. So I said this to Sarah, and she said, do you want to come on and ask him about that book too? And I was like, sure. So that came together, and that was an instance of just being flexible and going with the flow, and it was super fun. He was great. He lives in Pennsylvania, and he's edited a bunch of collections, and I'd never thought of that as a career, but he said it was great because he used it as a way to do research and learn more stories and get more into literature on a publisher's dime, because they would like pay him to do these collections and write the introduction and pick out the stories. And I thought, I want that gig. Like, that sounds good. So that was fantastic. The reason it's extra cool is that there's a Netflix series called Lupin, dans l'ombre d'Arsène, right now. And it's a French series that's been dubbed in English for Netflix, for us plebeians. And it's great. It's super cute. It's like fun and a gentleman thief and a great backstory and a sentimental not sentimental, sympathetic protagonist. And I just watched all 5 episodes this past week. There's only 1 season out, so I had to stop. But yeah, that was really good. So I'd recommend that too. Hi, David. David's participating. He put, who did you put in? Bay, let me look. I have this spreadsheet open. Nope, not Bay Used Books. Beaverdale Books in Iowa, right. Beaverdale Books, which makes me think of Riverdale. Not the cheesy movie recently, but the Archie and Jughead and Betty and Veronica comics land. So Beaverdale, Riverdale. That's how I remember it. Aloha, Marilyn. Nice to see you. It's probably early for you, so thanks for being on, saying hello. Beth Ann, the name of the series on Netflix is Lupin, Lupin, which means wolf. So, gentleman thief. Okay, so when I was explaining it, I realized that there might be confusion. So, I'm not going to share the screen because that's a little weird, but let me talk you through the thing that you need to do to connect with people, kind of like the Buddy Read sign up, is put down your name and sort of like where you are, and then the bookstore that you want to buy books for someone from. So for me, that's going to be Backstory here in Portland. They're a used bookstore down in Southeast Hawthorne, and I love them and I want them to stay open. So I put their handle in there so that people can investigate them if they have a cool tweet or Instagram post, repost, retweet, amplify their voices to support them. And then the next level, if you want to do the book mail part, is to put down your social media handle so that people can get in touch with you and make sure that, okay, well, I only want to spend $20, or I'm okay spending $40, or I missed bookstore day and I want to blow out $50, whatever you want to do, just so you're on the same page and like there aren't, disappointments at the end, expectations being thwarted. I'm wary of that because I'm always tripped up by my expectations. So I wanted to try to be careful about people's feelings on that. And then basically contact that person. So I'm going to get in touch with Beth Ann and say, so where's your wish list? And what should I be looking at? Do you have any way of keeping track of what you have so I don't get you a duplicate? That sort of thing. And then since I'm familiar with her channel, I sort of know where I want to look, like which sections I want to check out. And then I can sort of check back with like if she's reviewed it or if she has it already, that kind of thing. And then send her the books by May 31st. So that's why I put all the dates as May 31st as send by, but you can obviously send earlier if you talk with your person and agree. So does that help, Melissa? I hope. Canada definitely able to join in. I already have someone on there who is in Northern Ontario and suggested the bookstore I was just thinking of, which is called Bay Used Books in Sudbury, Ontario. And so I was pretty excited because we love our friends north of the border. So that's the bookstore idea. Let's see what else. So Lupin, the Netflix series, and one of the things that Michael said, awesome, cool. Good. I think so. Try it out, see if it helps. Contact someone on Twitter or on Instagram or however, and see if you're on the same page and want to do the thing. That would make me happy to support extra help, give extra help to indie bookstores. One of the things Michael Sims said when I was on Mighty Mysteries this week was that the stories are they're more funny and more sort of dark. So the darkness and light, I guess. But the Netflix series has veered more sort of like heartwarming. They definitely do a narrative squish to make it stand together and cohere for both the episode and the season. So I like it. I mean, it's a little sentimental, but I really enjoyed it. So there's a big cliffhanger at the end of season 1. It's not a bad one. It's not, so everyone's been talking about cliffhangers from Marilyn on down. All the people I've watched recently, whichever tag it is, do you like cliffhangers? The 20 questions one. Anyway, They can be terrible. I agree. But this is like, I don't know. I am not afraid for the thing that is being threatened to have happen. I don't see that happening with the series and the tone that they've set up. So I'm just like, ooh, exciting. I can't wait to see how they get out of that one. So I will put that sort of warning there, but also I think it's still worth watching. So that's fun. So yeah, so that was Arsène Lupin. What else have I been doing? Last Saturday, I jumped on the chance to be a guest or a cameo facilitator at a writers conference, which is, I believe, a first. It was called Muse in the Marketplace, and it's put on in Boston usually. And this time it was virtual, and I basically hopped on as someone's guinea pig, as the presentation was about hosting virtual events. And I was like, oh yeah, I do this. I can what is it? Do this on the fly. And so I came on and I had a costume and I brought my cat on. He said hello for like 5 seconds. And we did all of things that sort of put interest. And this was facilitated by Jenna Blum, who is co-founder and head of A Mighty Blaze. And she had a great program. And so we sort of, her words are to vary the texture. That was like the main point that I was helping bring in. And so you want to have another head talking. You want to highlight your pets if they're part of your life. You want to take people around. You want to, I don't know, change the format so it's not always a talking head. And that's why this sort of like StreamYard thing where you can pop up comments is so fun because you're varying the texture. So I thought that was great. Before that, the Tuesday before that, I did an open invite virtual picnic party, and I saw some of you there, and that was super fun. It was one of those ideas where I thought, I mean, it's kind of dangerous because you're letting anyone in with an open link, but also you can see them before you pop them into the chat or into the camera studio space. So there's a waiting room. So if trolls or spammers are going to come on, you're going to see them and go, I don't know, who the heck are you? I'm not letting you in. So it was one of those like, I've never seen other people do this, but I think it'll work, so let's try it. And the world didn't fall down. So it was a small group, but successful, I would say. It was fun. And then I saw, is it Onyx Pages doing this right after? And I said, oh, that's so cool. I just tried this last week. She, I think, has her birthday May 1st tomorrow. And so she's doing the same thing tomorrow. And she's got a great channel and she'll have tons of people because it's a Saturday. It was smarter. But I mean, it's a birthday. You don't get to choose. So that was fun. Oh, cool. All right. My town doesn't have an indie bookstore, being in the sticks and all, so I shared a great story in another town. Oh, sweet. All right. Man, I haven't seen you guys in ages. Very cool. That's perfect. Thanks for sharing. We love the indie bookstore love. And like I said, if people are waiting to get vaccinated or not next to a bookstore, the other thing to do to support indie bookstores and make sure they stick around is just use their online stores. So that's great. Thank you. Let's see. Monday before that, I made my own ice cream cake because you know what? No one else is going to. So self-care, baby. That was fun. I went to a local ice cream store and said, here's a loaf pan. Can you fill this with ice cream? And I'll melt it and refreeze it and put hot fudge on top. And I didn't put candles in it. I should have done that. Oh, well. And so I made my own ice cream cake, which is what you pay a lot for at Baskin-Robbins. And I thought, I can do this. So that was an experiment that went really well. I went out to the park and a few friends showed up and we did like a socially distanced picnic in the park. And so that was fun. The park was very busy. There were so many dogs. So again, success. I don't know. It was fun. It was a good day. Sorry, sniffly sniff. So yeah, experiments. It's been a month full of experiments, and I'm hoping that this BookTube BookSwap is another fun one. I'm hoping to sort of like limber up the experiment muscles so that I'm ready for change. Because I can tell like there's change a coming, and I want to be ready for it. You can never be ready for things you can't predict, but hopefully varying the routine, experimenting, trying to be flexible is part of like the gym for the brain, the gym for the emotions that's going to get me ready for big changes happening. I don't know. One of the big ones, if you were here on Wednesday, you will have heard that instead of indie publishing the next book, I am going to be querying agents. And so I'm in a place where it feels like I'm not learning at the rate that I want by indie publishing. And I've sort of missed boats at various spots to do certain things. And so I'm like, okay, lessons learned. There's been successes, there's been failures, there's been good and bad. And I just want to try something new with book 6. And so I feel like the book feels different too. The themes and the subjects and the sort of learning that I've done in the past couple of years have contributed to that, as well as all the research and immersion that I've done and put into the book. It just feels different. So I want to like embrace the possibility that this could go down a different path. And so I am going to be querying this in a couple months as soon as I figure out what to do with this midpoint tragedy thing that I can't figure out yet. So structure is not my best friend, but I'm working on it, and I have hope that this thing will be solved. I just need to like sit in there with it long enough for it to like click into something that makes arc sense. So we'll see. Editing, querying, and I had been struggling a lot with the uncertainty of what am I going to do, live here, stay with my parents for a while. The job and the life are sort of in flux, as they are for a lot of people. And I was really struggling with like, what should I do? What are my responsibilities? And in the past couple weeks, I sort of like was able to let that go. And it's not solving it, but at least it's not a generalized anxiety hanging over my head. And I've started thinking more about, excuse the sniffles, like varying my routine, as I said, and doing things that will keep my mind flexible and able to adapt, which the pandemic has not. It's so isolating. And again, so this talk earlier that was about Lisa Genova's new book, Remember, was talking about how the pandemic has kept us sort of in a rut of the same things happening over and over again, because that's basically what we're turning to for safety in these times. And we're about to come out of that, but we're not going to remember a lot of the things that happened during this time because we've been so restricted in our actions and in our freedoms. And so she called it the most memorable year you won't remember. And I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, it's felt to me like being on hold and being in limbo and like all of these things from time to time. You know, sometimes it'll be okay and I'm working on something and I feel like I'm making progress. And sometimes I feel like I'm not moving. What am I doing? Where's the purpose of all this activity? So I'm sure people can relate of going back and forth between feeling okay with it and feeling like, how long is this going to go on? Like I can't deal with the uncertainty anymore. So can I get an amen? Yes, Marilyn's saying self-care is my motto for life. And you need different types of self-care in different situations. So when I was working in the service industry and writing books and indie publishing, I feel like having a routine to catch all the things that were happening was useful. And now when, I'm 95% at home and basically going to the grocery store and the bookstore and the coffee shop, that I still want to be there when the pandemic ends. There can be too much routine. And so the self-care is the things that you grab onto to make experience shine, that make emotion, that make things different, that experiment, that with people, because it feels like such a huge step in this pandemic sort of baseline. Does that make sense? And yes, also, I think we're on the same wavelength with the structure being really hard for the book. I was just talking with, in the comments of YouTube, I was speaking with Autumn Bardot, who's a Southern California writer, and she had a video up about story archetypes. And I thought, this is just like when I went to a writer conference talk about structure, and people were telling me, all your stories can fit into these types. It's kind of like the Enneagram. All your novels can fit into these types of stories. And I watched them all and I said, well, there's some of that. Okay, but there's also some of that. Okay, but there's some of that at the end, especially. And I'm never able to fit my intuited idea of a story into a given structure. And she's like, yeah, of course it's never neat, but this is the sort of arcs that we've come to count on. And I was like, okay, all right, I kind of get it, but I don't fit into your boxes is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, and like Marilyn's writing a memoir, and I'm thinking, how do you do a narrative for that? That's got to be hard too. Thank you. Thank you, David. Yes, she is amazing. I was listening to her talk today. I'd never heard of her before. So this book about the neuroscience of memory was really fascinating. And if you go to A Mighty Blaze's channel on YouTube, it'll be there. I also just tweeted it today. So yeah, she was on there for a solid hour talking about the book with Jenna, and it was just fantastic. So glad I wasn't on time, but I got in at the end, like the last half an hour. So that was good. Yeah. So the theme of today's talk, independent bookstore, BookTube BookSwap, to help them, and check out the spreadsheet. Did I put it in the chat? Yes. Okay, so check out the spreadsheet. Experimenting in April. I was going to ask you all whether you had been experimenting with things either in April or during the pandemic, and if you want to tell us all about it, and we can commune with your struggle, because we're all, I don't know, maybe you haven't made the switch that I have from feeling like things are crazy, I need structure, to I have nothing going on, I need to like connect and pull things out of the ether, out of the darkness, I don't know, to try to like ground myself with things and create memories. One of the things she said is that if you don't have, if you're only doing things that are routine, your mind is not going to remember them, because it's already sorted that into the library of things that don't need to be remembered. Sorry, I don't want to like drip on camera, and that's just what happens these days. So, if your entire life consists of things that you if your entire life routine consists of things where it's not memorable, you're not creating new memories, you can definitely fall into a slump of meaninglessness, or, all this kind of stuff. And I think this probably affects people who live alone more than people who are living in community, but I don't know. Tell me what you're experimenting with, or what your feelings are. Yeah. um, it isn't healthy for us to be boxed up. We need interaction with each other. Yeah. Allergies are horrible in Cali. You're in Cali? I don't know if you were still in Kentucky or in Cali, or this is talking about a past moment. You have to tell me. um yeah. Yeah. I've had moments when I, go out to that coffee shop every couple months and like buy a bunch of cookies and a hot chocolate. That's my contribution to keeping them open, which is what I can do. And or I'll step into somewhere else to get takeout every once in a while, and it'll be this weird feeling of like I'm in a room that's not familiar, and there's people with masks on. And I'm, just getting something briefly before leaving again, and I get this like overwhelming feeling of like I'm in a strange place. Like this is a strange feeling, and it's a little emotionally overwhelming because it's like so close to normal, but so strange in the moment. It's weird. But yeah, I'm feeling the boxed up feeling, and most of the time it's okay because it's like a numb baseline. But then when I get a little close to reality, like Lana posted Lana Ex Libris on Instagram posted a picture of being in a coffee shop and like working on planning videos or whatever. And I was like, ooh, and the ear popped. Sorry. I just had an ear infection. So there's all these things going on. Yeah. She posted a picture of being in a coffee shop planning like with a journal and a cup of coffee. And I was just like, that's been 15 months since I've done that. That's a departure from reality. And to think that it's been 15 months, like simultaneously forever and like a moment, because there's been so little novelty in between. There's been big, huge things in between, actually, but in my like little hole, it's like the same. So we do need to interact with each other. I agree. That's true. Marilyn's big experiment is the BookTube channel. I'm with you on that too. Yeah. You started in August. I started at the end of August. So we're in the same cohort, buddy. Think and Eat Yourself Smart is a very informative book for healthy minds and emotions. Okay, you were talking about growing up in Cali. Yeah. Every time I go to Cali, I have issues. Yeah. Well, I didn't growing up there. I've gotten progressively worse being in Oregon. So, yeah. I just got an audiobook is it called Conscious Eating or Consciously Eating, something like this? I'll try to put it in later. But I'm thinking when I go down to visit my parents, we can listen to this audiobook together, because I think I've gotten sort of on a good track of mostly whole foods. Mostly, I will say mostly whole foods, but it would be fun to like listen to the advice that this woman author is giving for choosing foods for healthy minds and emotions, as exactly as you're saying, and talk about it, because I think we all have our preconceptions and our history with food, and we've all been through like this with all the dietitians and advice that's changed over the years. And it would be good to sort of talk about it, interact. Yeah. Here's Joe in the house. Hello, Joe Compton with Go Indie. It's Friday. Do you have a talk coming up later tonight? I can't believe it's Friday already. Tell us. Yay. Pine. Oh, the trees that I'm allergic to? I don't know. I went to see the doctor for the first time in over a year on Monday. That's how I found out about the ear infection. But they're also going to do an allergy panel for me next time in like a week or so. And I've never had that done. So they'll probably try pine. It's a common tree. I grew up around pine trees. I don't know. I don't think that's it, but water under the bridge. Yes. Yes, I agree. I agree. So yeah, bookstores, experiments, transitions. Keep your head above water, people. Joe, we were weighing in on what things we've experimented with. So if your Friday night live show is an experiment, or you have one coming up on the weekend with Katie, I don't know. You have so many things going, I can't keep track, but let us know. This is the last few minutes for just sort of people chipping in what they're experimenting with so we can help support people. Moral support. Oof. And I've forgotten my tea. That's been there for 40 minutes. It's probably very drinkably temperate by now. Yeah, it's just about perfect. All right, so Joe, Sunday, they have This Week in Indies. Okay, I think that's the newer show. Unhealthy amount of scams popping up. Ugh. Scams for indie authors, I assume. Yeah. Huh. I haven't seen one of those in a while, but yeah, they're good shows. You always have people on who are funny and smart and fun to listen to. So look forward to it. End of August. Oh, yay. Okay, going off track a little here. Marilyn, what is your sign? I don't know the August sun sign, but that would be fun to know. And David saying BookTube is completely a new experiment for me. I've absolutely loved it. Super awesome. So, excuse me. It's so weird when an ear pops and then the sound around you completely changes. This has only been happening since yesterday, so I'm still getting used to it. So David, when did you join? Because I only think I saw you start commenting on the people that I saw, maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So welcome. We're going to read Richard II, and we haven't gotten details for that, but yes, it's going to happen. Says the biologist. Yes, let me give you a closer look. This is one of my prized possessions from the last trip I made to Scotland. There's a famous place for pottery called Dunoon, and it's not actually made in Dunoon anymore, but Dunoon ceramics, and so I got a mug with all the birds of the UK on there. Just fun. So thank you. I am drinking, I think it's just PG Tips. It's regular black tea with milk and honey. I started doing the honey that's local to the Northwest to try to help with allergies, but obviously it is not helping at all. So I should probably stop that. So I'm just not ingesting extra sugar and calories. TikTok is littered with scams. Well, that's nothing new. Yeah, I don't go on there as much anymore. And David just joined last week. Yay! Yes, we have Midwesterners. We had I just pointed this out to Kim at Bookmarks and Breadsticks. So she's a big food sociology reader, and she is living outside Chicago, I think, and she's moving to Western New York, and it's like a whole affair. But I was like, oh, you and Beth Ann is in Minnesota, and she's moving to northern New York is where I think it is. I don't know. But I was like, there's an accident. This is the trend of 2 that I noticed on BookTube. Very, very small sample size. But I thought it was funny. All right, Marilyn's a Virgo. Okay. All right, you also just mentioned being a perfectionist recently in your video, so I think that's associated with Virgo qualities. Interesting. It's been a while since I studied my astrology books. It's fun. Not for much longer. Yep. Yet forgive, conclude, and be agreed. Oh, okay. Thank you. I was a little lost. haven't read it yet. This was after the Shakespeare live dramatic reading that I did last Friday because it was Shakespeare's birthday celebration, the 23rd of April every year. And I did a couple of readings from plays, but I also showed the ones that I hadn't yet read that I'd rescued from my parents' house. And David and I agreed to read Richard II because I don't know why. It just struck us. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna need help. So Joe, if you want to help us, we may come knocking on your door. Who knows? Cool. Well, I love everyone's experiments. And I, again, thank you for all being so supportive on Wednesday for the agenting, querying, submission journey. It's going to be, maybe Richard II will be inspiration for this journey. I don't know. Richard III is always portrayed as the villain by Shakespeare, but I hear there's murmurs in the peanut gallery about that not necessarily being the case. So we'll see. Maybe Richard II has some admirable qualities. Although the BBC article that I had seen on Twitter was talking about how he turned his back on the peasant people, and that helped the revolt that started sort of the early signs of the sort of democratic impulse in Britain in the 14th century. And so that struck my fancy. That was an interesting thread to follow. So Marilyn says she studied astrology when she was a teenager. I don't know if there's such a thing as on the cusp of something. Do you mean on the cusp of the signs? Because I'm definitely a cusp baby as well. My mom likes to say that my due date was April 1st, but I think that's just the doctors being lazy. And I waited until the 20th. And so I was obviously like waiting for the turning for the Taurus so that I was a Taurus instead of an Aries. Born out by events. I mean, yeah. That tracks, as they say. You wouldn't count on your help? Is that what you're saying? All right, well, if you've got any gems from like far dusty memories from whenever you read it, I'll appreciate that too. I mean, obviously you have forget, forgive, conclude, and be agreed, and that sounds pretty good to me. So A+ on everybody's experiments. I just finished a couple books. So final few minutes, I'm just going to ask what everyone's reading, put it in the comments, and we can chat. I just finished, and it's still in my head, this book called Dark Age America. It's by a guy who, I think it said he lived in Pennsylvania, but now I think he's living somewhere else. Anyway, he calls himself the Arch Druid. So I think he was early on involved with Druid activities in the Pacific Northwest where he grew up, but now he's in Pennsylvania? I'm not sure. John Michael Greer, I think that's his name. And it's basically like how we've overshot our environmental capacity and like we're rearranging chairs on the decks of the Titanic, and we need to be preparing for the adaptation phase, not the mitigation phase. And, you know, part of my brain realizes that's true. And I think he did a very level-headed job of explaining, like, in history, what happens when civilization starts to decline is, and I mean, it's sort of comforting. It happens. We're all part of this history, and you know, my sort of creepy conspiracy theory tendencies of like wanting to learn how to garden better and not being so dependent on services that depend on electricity and internet and that sort of thing. Like, this did not help those tendencies, but I think it's healthy. I think like a little bit of a pivot to being outside and connecting with community and not depending so much on this for distraction, but communication, and at least starting those bonds in this way is okay. But I don't know. It is the way that I'm being in community right now, which is sort of a paradox, but Anyway, I'm going to be thinking about that book for a long time. And then I also just read a book called Where the Lost Wander, which is a terrible title by Amy Herman, and it's about like a wagon train in 1853, and that was pretty good. About the Shoshone and the Pawnee and a wagon train track across basically like the first third. So it's good. Oh, okay. Joe was saying I wouldn't count on it being pleasant. Richard II? No, he's not an up and up character? No. Oh, I skipped Beth Ann's. Beth Ann is still reading The Count of Monte Cristo. Courtney just finished that, right? She was like meeting it out. It took her like a couple months. Yeah, big book. David saying great book. Oh, he just started The Poppy War, which I have. I just got a couple months ago. Just finished Paralandra by C.S. Lewis. Cool. Yeah, and yeah, we'll be in touch about Richard II. Ooh, cool. We've got like BookTube friends. Joe is about to start J.D. Estrada's Only Human, which I think is the beginning of a trilogy, which is pretty cool. Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look at my book or my chart. Virgo to Leo? I don't know. April to, I think Leo might be later because it's the opposite. Or no, it's the north-south axis. So never mind what I just said. I don't know when Leo is. It sounds like an interesting book. Hoping can and freeze some of my garden this year. After 2020, I like to depend less on the store as well. Totally. Yeah. Canning and freezing. Yeah. It's interesting. Like what's going to be the effect of people reading all these dystopian novels? I think there's been a definite like trend of dystopian novels more recently, pre-pandemic because of the political situation, and then also during the pandemic because it was like a distraction. But like besides doomsday preppers, which I think is still an extreme and not all that helpful. I mean, I wonder if other people are going to be engaging differently. I hope so. Oh, okay. So you're close. You must be close to finishing The Count then, right? Good luck. I was reading Mao, but what a depressing read. I want to read Home by Marilyn Robinson. I've heard great things. I think I started Home because someone I used to work with recommended it to me, and I think something happened to the book. I think I spilled on it or ripped it or something, and I I didn't keep going. But I hear it's a beautifully written book, so good luck with that one. Oh, well, good reads, guys. We got some fantasy, we got some history thrown out the door. Fiction, fantasy. Yeah. Classics. I was going to try to read The Street by Anne Petrie because I think Locked Book Diction has her live on that today. But I may just go and check in and say hello and then sign off because I don't want spoilers. Because I think it's a book that's going to like, there's going to be twists and I don't want it spoiled. So that'll be a good one. Oh yeah, Marilyn just reviewed Luster and said it was really good. So that's good. I know a couple people who have gotten that book and now commenting on everyone's channel who says they didn't like it. Well, you have a good counter because if people say it's not realistic or how could you do this? It's kind of like, hey man, different position, different choices. You're living proof, which I think is great. Yeah. I can't remember. It was very hyped. And so I just sort of went, I just sort of step back from books that are very hyped like that all of a sudden. So I think I haven't done my TBR for May yet. I saw everyone's pop up this week and I was a little, the last week and a half have been like a little tiring, a little exhausting, like a little less energy. And So I don't have my stuff ready for May yet, but I saw With Cindy's, I think she used to be Read with Cindy, and now her channel name is just With Cindy. Her video about the Asian readathon. And I'm all set for that because I planned that a while ago. So I'm excited to read books that fit the prompts for that. And I've got a variety. I've got Maxine Hung Kingston. I've got Nam Lee. I've got Minjin Lee. I've got, it's over there and it's facing away, so I don't have a reminder. That's 3 of the 5. I have 5. Anyway, you'll see it soon enough. It'll probably be up on Sunday. I don't know. I got to work on the planner too. I got to finish up April. So like I was saying, color coding really helps, and it's helped me focus on the exercise to keep me sane and the progress on the book. Because if I don't see that color, I'm like disappointed. So it's helping with that. But yeah, that is today's Friday Live. And thanks everyone for coming by to say hi. Happy reading this weekend, and I wish you pleasant connections with people in community. And there we go. That's my parents. He wanted to go on vacation. This is why I said it's a lazy doctor thing. He wanted to get the baby delivered before he went on vacation. I don't know what the astrologers say about that. Happy reading in community. And again, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for supportive comments. I hope your allergies disappear just like I hope mine do. And yeah, go forth and whatever the Richard II quote is, and be happy and sow seeds of content. Thanks, everybody.